start at 6:34. And we do have a full house, so the first case on our agenda tonight is Planning Board Case 14-01. It's a continuation for a site plan review proposed to remove the existing building and construct a 3,400 square feet retail office building with parking, stormwater treatment, and new sewage disposal system at 304 Laconia Road in the Resort Commercial District. And I have a letter from Mr. Stephen Smith saying, please accept this letter as our formal request to continue our site plan review to your June 10th, 2014 meeting of the Planning Board. We are still in the process of working with the owner to develop a revised site plan to minimize wetland buffer impacts as requested by the Conservation Commission. Any questions, do not hesitate to call me. Sincerely, Stephen J. Smith, Senior LLS Agent for the applicant. So I will entertain a motion to continue.
Make a motion to continue Planning Board Case 14-01 to our June 10th meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So moved. We continue. Our second case tonight, which brings everybody here, is Planning Board Case 14-07, conditional use permit within the wetlands buffer zone. It's a proposal to conduct a logging operation through a wetland at 149 School Street in the medium residential district, R18/12. And if anyone, I have the application for the conditional use permit. You would pass it around if you would take a look at it.
Okay.
Maybe look at
I have one.
You have one?
We just
Everybody
got
have
some
one?
copies.
Okay, I wasn't sure he made them. He couldn't get his computer to work. All right?
Going around the room.
All right. So I will open this up to the planning board for discussion and review of the application. I'll ask you to please make sure you read the back letter. There's one thing that's left blank, and we ask that this be submitted.
No.
Just that.
appears to me that the application is complete, with the one exception, and I think the letter that was written is acceptable in that particular case. Is there any discussion? Comments?
Is it appropriate that we open up, public hearing?
Any comments at all from the planning board? All right, I'll open it up to the public now. Any comments?
Would you like me to speak, or,
You would like to?
I mean, if you want, I can wait for them to air out whatever issues they have, if they have any.
All right, I'll ask a question. I know that a basic overview of what, I guess, somewhat of the plan for the property is that they're doing timber extraction. I guess a general question would be, what, is it gonna be like a clear cut where the property is just gonna be leveled and everything is just gonna be removed? Or, I know that I saw that there was so many counts of certain trees that were being taken out, if those trees in particular are just being taken out, or if it's just gonna be stripped and then left.
With a property of that contour, it's actually illegal to clear cut it.
Okay.
If you look at your timber harvest laws, you'll see that there's basal area, I mean, I can recite it if you want, but we'll be here for a while. To make a long story short, a basal area is a public right-of-way, or a seasonal brook, or a pond over 10 acres, all, you know, there are different laws for each one, but to make a long story short, you can't cut over 50% once you get into a basal area. Now, if the area is not a basal area, well, then that can be a little different, but the bottom line is, the timber harvest laws are what they are in the state of New Hampshire. It's regulated, and, you know, forest rangers visit regularly. DES does routine site inspections, and for the most part, it is at the discretion of the landowner on how he wants to cut. It's really as simple as that. I mean, the laws are the laws. The laws work both ways. Just like they protect the landowner, they also protect the abutters or whatever. And if you violate the timber harvest laws, you'll be held accountable. You can bet on that.
So what is it they're planning, what are they planning to do up there?
All he's planning on doing is to thin the timber to get some income.
What, that stuff way out back, you mean?
Yeah, there's, in other words,
You're
everything,
just putting the road, go up through there.
yeah.
Where you had the skidder and the machine
Yeah.
there. You're just going up through, is there an old road goes up through there? They used to-
Yeah, there is. I'm not sure whether we're gonna use it. You know, obviously, we have our wetlands notification, and when you do a notification, you are required to delineate by GPS, because when the state shows up, they can go, you know, they have your latitude and longitude, and they can figure out your exact location of your crossing.
So you're looking at just going up in there and taking out that big stuff that's way out in the back?
There's nothing to cut for like the first 800 feet.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
That's fact. You know.
But there was rumors around that, it was going in there and it was gonna strip all that stuff out of there and chip it all up and.
Truthfully, we cut by hand. I would have to be a complete fool.
You cut the real way.
Yeah, I would have to be a goddamn fool to go in there and cut all that stuff down.
I had doubts about that, that's why.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get me wrong, I understand. I know you don't wanna look out your window, and I get it, I really do. I mean, I own multiple properties in the state, I own waterfront property, and, you know, I'm up to date with shoreline protection, trust me. And I can understand your concerns, okay? But the bottom line is the only tree worth cutting is a tree that can be sold by the board foot.
Yeah.
Okay, now, if you have to cut a little bit of, you know, a couple other trees to harvest it or whatever,
Yeah.
but I have no interest whatsoever
It's something that,
okay?
yeah.
Absolutely not. You know what, I have a lot of energy, because you can tell I'm standing here gyrating back and forth, but I don't have that much energy. I was born in 1963. Okay, so, if that means anything, if that helps you know a little bit more. And believe me, the last thing I live in the area. I have no interest in offending anybody. I know some people, you cannot make them happy even if you stand on your head.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you ever had an issue and you came over, I promise
Yeah.
I wouldn't do anything irrational. Well, I'd like to believe.
Well, like I said, there was rumors going around that you guys.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm sure that there is. I'm sure that there is. But I was asked that question. How was it gonna be cut? And my exact answer was, quote, that is to be determined by the landowner.
Yeah.
But I will tell you this, if we violate the timber harvest laws, or the basal area laws, or the wetlands regulations, we're held accountable, not the landowner.
Does the basal restriction apply to the entire parcel, or just that area designated as basal?
No, absolutely. Basal area is determined, and that's what the basal area law applies to. That's why they call it the basal area.
Okay, so there's an area on this parcel that's considered basal, where those restrictions will apply, and then
Yeah.
what restrictions are on the other, what's the other part of the property determined as in terms of its,
So
That's
just,
basal area is typically the road frontage and the property lines?
actually not the property lines, it's the road frontage and the wetlands. And like I said, it's 50% of the first 150 feet for any acre over 10, any ponds over 10 acres. 50% of 50 feet on a stream that is wet 9 months out of the year. It goes on and on. 50% of the first 150 feet of any public right-of-way, hence the brush. Trust me, I will cut 0% of that.
but it doesn't apply to the property borders,
No, that applies under like slash law. You can't leave slash within 25 feet of any lot line. You can't leave slash within 50 feet of any public right-of-way. I can tell you this, what is legal, and I promise you I will not do it, is I could drop a tree on someone else's property, and as long as I pull it across and clean it up, it's legal. Okay, but I will tell you, I will not do that, because if I was standing there on my front lawn, I wouldn't want someone dropping a tree on my head. I think that's fair to say. So what that says to me is we go over and above what we have to do legally to comply with the laws and make everybody happy.
Now, you said you guys cut by hand, you cut everything by hand?
Yeah.
And you clean the tops of the stumps off when you cut it down, you don't leave scales sticking up?
No, because I can go out there and fall on it and then impale me and then I'll die.
Yeah.
But then again, I guess maybe my son could probably sue the landowner.
I've seen people do
yeah.
that, they'll leave them spears sticking up, and it ain't just people, but deer in the winter and stuff, going through the snow.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, truthfully, anything that can possibly happen to someone has probably happened to me out in the woods. I got a tree on the head before. Yeah, okay, so, that being said, it's actually probably more dangerous for me than it is for you, because I have to go out there constantly and work out there. No one in their right mind would leave, what you're referred to as, it's called pull-out. I don't wanna leave pull-out, because, no, my luck, I'll, be there the next day, and next thing you know, I'll fall on it. So that's just common sense.
Well, it's common sense for some people, but not for everybody.
Well, no, that's
There
true.
are people that do that.
In order to put the road through to get to the hollow timber, what will you be doing with the brush that you cleared to get through?
The brush that we clear to get through is if, the best management practices state that if the area gets a little muddy, we would actually put it, what they would call brush it out, okay? And what that does is that controls erosion, it's all biodegradable. For some reason, if we don't need it, then we would run it through a chipper and wave goodbye.
But you wouldn't leave it in order to dry out and become a fire hazard?
I know this sounds stupid, but it's $28 a ton at the plant. Now, I'm not saying I'm gonna go out of my way to cut it, because I'm not, but this is what I say to people. you have a wallet, right? And you have a 20 and some 10s and a couple 5s and some 1s. Do you take the $1 bills and just throw them out the window because they're not big enough? And the answer is no. Well, it's the same thing with us. It's called total utilization. It's called total utilization with anything that we cut. In other words, I'm not gonna cut brush by choice because, like I said, I would have to be a fool. It's not cost effective. But anything that is cut and that's on the ground that can be grabbed by a machine will be hauled out and shipped.
For biomass? Okay.
Yeah, and like I said, it's 28 bucks a ton, and I know it doesn't sound like much.
Okay, so what do we know for board feet that you may be taking out for the actual tree?
That's on the intent.
Okay, we have to read that.
That's on the intent, you can review it, and that will be fine.
And how long do you anticipate this project to take?
6 to 8 weeks. I mean, we have been held up a little bit, so we'll try to go faster. But truthfully, I don't want to be there one day longer than I have to, because every day that I'm there longer, is the less that you like it. and that's a fact. So,
How close to the plot line do you cut?
I'm sorry?
How close to an abutted line do you cut?
Well, usually if there's some big timber over by a line, we might tip it out. But keep in mind what I said. Brush within 25 feet of a lot line. So, the tree is cut within 25 feet of the lot line, right? And a bunch of limbs break off. Guess what I have to do? I have to pick them up. I really don't want to work harder than I have to. I think you would agree that logging, especially partially mechanized logging, is back-breaking work. I'm 50 years old, okay? I don't have a lot of good years left. I don't want to have to bend over more than I have to pick up the brush.
Okay.
So, I hope that answers your question.
Yep.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I spoke to an abutter and he said, geez, can you cut a few trees over by my line? I'm okay with that.
If you want to make a-
And what happens to the entrance road after the 6 to 8 weeks?
You have to pull the culvert out. You have to pull the culvert out because it's a temporary driveway permit with the state.
I see, okay.
Because if you don't pull it out, and let's say we have a 100-year flood, and then all the water drags everything out into the road, who are they gonna call? They're gonna call me, and I answer the phone every time it rings. Unfortunately.
Are there any other questions from the public? And Burr, if you want to see the intent to cut, would you like to see that?
Yeah, I'd be interested in seeing that.
All right.
Is there another copy?
This is all on our.
It's all on the,
But see, you also gotta look at it this way.
look at it
Burr asked the question, I thought maybe
The
you'd like
warmer
to
the
see it.
weather gets,
Do you want me to make a copy for you?
Thanks, Jane.
the more your windows are open,
Take a look at that one when it's done.
okay? In other words, if we're cutting in April or in the winter, your windows are closed. And your hearing is probably better than mine still, but nevertheless, if I'm over there in July and it's 90 degrees and all your windows are open, you're gonna hate me. You're gonna hate me because, I mean, obviously, we have to adhere to whatever noise ordinance you got going on, but the point is like I said, I don't wanna be there one day longer than I have to, because familiarity breeds contempt.
What do you have out there? There's some nice oak out there?
Yeah, there's not really a whole lot that I saw, but, it's basically a diameter cut. I mean, like I
That's
said.
tonnage, not the number of trees,
that doesn't really
too. That's
make any
tonnage.
No, I understood that.
So it's not on the town site.
Right. It's on this,
On the intent to cut, just for clarification, that's tonnage, not the number of trees.
the old days when they used to cut the tree down.
Yeah, that's tonnage.
No, we,
Sure, it's 2014.
believe it or not, there's no money in wood
Well, that's
chips.
different, than if you-
Semi-mechanized, but believe it or not, it's easier bring out a whole tree, right? They shoot the rest of it, kind of subsidizes the operation. I mean, trust me, we're not getting rich. But believe it or not, it's actually more cost effective. You have other timber harvest laws, we talk about brush being 4 feet deep. And what I'm saying is, I don't want to be standing 4 feet of brush, I don't want to be standing 1 foot coming out, 2 inches. Because then you're gonna fall, and then you fall in that street. So, it's just, when you really think about it, it's just common sense. But then again, common sense.
Are there any more questions from the public?
Well, I wouldn't make a wise remark about them spears, but there are still people that go
Well, believe it or not, if you're cutting a hardwood tree and you don't bore out the middle of it, you'll get a huge spear. Yeah. But then you know what? Then you bring it somewhere and they don't pay you for it.
All right, I'm gonna call the meeting back to order. Are there any more questions from the public? And I just want to assure you that we have already put Gary through, had him jump through hoops, because we did not want to have anything go wrong. And we wanted to be able to, with a sincere face, tell you that we've done everything possible to make sure it's done the right way, that best management practices are being used, and that it is going to be as disruptive as possible to the abutters. And I think that we've tried to do that. So if there are no other comments or questions, I'm going to close it to the public. Try to get Gary to work.
I'm sorry?
I said try to get you to work.
No.
Instead of down here bothering us, Gary. I've gotten to know him far better than I wanted to.
I know I've been a nuisance, I apologize. Darren will attest to that.
Well, that's why I can say very honestly that we have made you jump through hoops, and that I feel that you're going to be doing things the right way. All right, so I will entertain a motion to accept the application.
I move that we accept the application.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Go to work. You gotta promise you won't be back here
I'll tell
bothering
you
us
what,
anymore,
if you
Gary.
come over, we'll let you drive it.
All right, and I thank the public for coming and for keeping us honest. We appreciate it, okay? And that's it.
Thank you for your time, and Daria, I apologize, I know I've been a complete pain in your rear end.
No, this is obviously, job you need to get going on, so.
Yeah, if there's ever an issue, just come on by.
Good night.
And we actually have the form, a permit that will be issued.
He's done all this.
No, I think a notice of decision. I think so.
You should have something that he can
Yeah,
post there.
yeah.
Do I owe you something?
Yeah, he has to post this.
Here's the post.
Yeah, right, but I'm thinking from the town.
Yeah, yeah,
DES
yeah.
may look for something.
I know, because a permit, it's not like a, yeah.
Now, we've all learned a lot.
They'll get some major holes.
Yeah,
Get some major holes.
and we'll discuss some things
But
later
no,
on at the
absolutely.
end of the meeting after everybody clears
I'm
out.
serious about that. You wanna come by?
After Judy fills her application with Tilton School, apparently. All right. All right, next is to review the April 22nd, 2014 minutes, which I think all of you have a copy of.
Is that something we were supposed to do?
Yeah.
I'll give you
He's
the.
in Dar's email.
I'll have to get into the habit of that. I'm just not.
I do have some copies, actually, sorry. I have 2 copies, I can make some more.
You want that letter I gave you?
Ready, Gary.
No, just on
Thank you.
on statute. Yes.
Definitely, yeah.
Good luck, have fun.
Thank you.
I'll write a note.
Before we leave the logging operation,
Don't expect me to bring you coffee on the
I
way.
just want to make sure everybody's aware that we can attach reasonable conditions to the
Yeah, when you
approval
bring it, I'm gonna write up a note.
Thank you,
of the
Dave.
permit. So, we can say on the permit, I know the state does reasonable practice.
do have that.
Oh, that there? Oh, no, I got that.
That could have gone on and on, I was afraid.
Well, actually, there is some, but,
We did make him do everything.
Right, but we can attach reasonable
Yeah.
conditions to that approval. And,
that's,
I'm thinking,
Does anyone need a copy?
oh, actually, no.
Yes?
Just didn't want it to be for none.
Oh,
if we
I
could,
already
I'm not even sure.
The minutes?
truthfully,
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know
okay.
what? Hold on a
I
second.
looked at it online.
if we
Oh,
listen to.
now I don't have a copy to mark up if there are errors, so, anyway,
You can have this one.
all right.
You wanna take this one? You can have one.
Sure, I'm sorry,
No, no, we read it online,
Oop.
so. It would just be typos and stuff. How you doing there, Catherine?
You're very efficient, sir, very efficient.
You gonna kick me yet?
Hell no. If we listen to the tape, there are things that he stated that he would do that he doesn't have to do, that we
Yeah.
may want to include.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
he said he wouldn't drop the logs on anybody's property.
Right.
yeah.
But we may want to
Truthfully, I actually.
just add those to it because
Hmm.
he's not held to it by any law.
No.
But
He did state here to
if
the
it's
public,
stated in the
that's what we
meeting,
can do.
right.
Could you pick those out?
Yeah, yep, and so I'll listen to the tape as I'm writing the notice of decision, pull out any stuff like that, and then, I could send the notice of decision around to the entire board as long as folks don't reply to all on email. If you reply just to me. That way we're not having a meeting, an unnoticed meeting.
What'd you just say?
It's like,
Said leave it
if
on
we
email, but
reply to
that
all,
stays
it's an
in
unnoticed meeting. So only reply to him.
Don't worry about it,
Don't worry
you're
about
fine.
If you don't know how to do it, you wouldn't worry about it.
You don't even have to reply.
In other words, I reply to the person that sends me the email.
There's also.
That's good, that, yeah.
If she doesn't
But
know,
there's a
don't
way,
know.
like if I send an email to 10 people, and instead of replying to just me, you reply to all, there's an
Not
option.
everybody.
Yeah, then, now we're having discussion through email, which is, could be a meeting,
Which is bad.
yeah.
I usually don't have a conversation that everybody's.
Yeah,
You've never lived that.
All right, is everybody finished reading the minutes of the meeting? Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to accept the minutes of the April 22nd meeting.
Second?
Yep. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
I abstained, that wasn't easy.
Thank you. One abstention, did you get that?
yeah.
All right.
I usually don't second unless I don't hear a second. I need a second when I don't hear one.
Next is correspondence.
You still have the
A plan reading workshop that is being held on 5/21/14 from 1 to 4 p.m. at the Philbrook Building in Concord. Anyone is interested in attending that? There will be a plan reading, yeah. All right, the next is, this is a request for South Bay Resort condominiums. It's from the Department of DES, and basically what they need is, they put in an application, and they alter the terrain, and DES has requested more information. Next is a request for a driveway permit for Ryan C. Byler, that's Tanger Factory Outlet Centers, and basically what they want to do on the driveway coming out Route 3, they want to make some changes to it, so this is a driveway permit from them.
What are they gonna do? Did they send us the plan?
Wait, is that, which one is that, sorry?
Tanger Outlet.
Oh, okay, I don't know, I
Okay.
don't plan on that one.
They didn't send us the plan, this is their application to DOT.
Right, but this is our opportunity to respond.
Well, they think they're going to alter to have four driveway entrances into his property, as opposed to the two.
4 entrances?
Mhm.
We need to look into that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think he's going to add lanes, isn't that how you read it?
I honestly, I just stuck it
Really?
in the folder.
Wasn't just the cover sheet?
Yeah,
I know.
so are they gonna take the existing one and kind of divide it?
That's what I think, that's how I
So
interpret
it's
it.
not because you kind
They're
of have
paving the
a
parking lot
free-for-all?
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. Can I get a copy of this, Dari, when you get a chance,
Yep.
please?
You do know that the town will pay for anything like that if it's a
Yes,
fee in
they
cash.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I can look into that. Stuff like that doesn't come directly to me usually. I just, it's sitting on my desk a lot of time when I get here in the morning, and I'll usually just put it right into the correspondence folder. So maybe I should change my strategy on that. It's possible, I guess, when the letter first came in, and maybe it came to Catherine Wisner, that there was more with it. I don't know.
No,
No, I don't think
They
so.
very seldom send
Oh.
the whole document.
Yeah, all right.
It just says, please find attached a driveway permit application. And that's all it is, it's just the application.
So we don't know where they're putting it, or,
Well, it's to Route 3, and
No,
it's to
I'm
alter
good with
the
that, thank you.
existing entrance.
oh, alter it, oh, okay.
Okay,
I
it's
didn't
not-
hear that.
That's
I
gonna
was
have an
reading.
impact on the
Hmm.
traffic
Yeah,
that we already have, like it's
But that's
congested.
Route 3.
Doesn't matter, it's gonna impact our traffic flow.
Well, it doesn't say construct, it says alter.
Alter.
So I wonder if it just has to do with the paving that to do, because they did some,
Don't know, that's the problem, they don't send us the stuff.
well, they dig it up, great,
Reclaim?
Recycling,
reclaiming, yeah, they
The
did some reclaiming.
resurfacing,
there you go.
that's what they're doing.
Resurfacing is what, yeah.
They just did that for,
I'd like to see it, please.
sorry, just kidding.
The next is supply lines, with the source, it's just a brochure if anybody's interested in reading it. It'll be in Dari's office, put out by Environmental Services.
Oh,
It just says alter, it doesn't say change.
the 4 lanes are existing.
Yeah. This is approval for
Oh, okay.
construction of a septic system for George Daniels up on Caleb Hill Road. With the U.S., the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services. And that's it.
Wow.
Now, I have, all of you who did not attend the workshop, it was very good, I thought. I don't know how anybody else felt, but I thought it was excellent. I did pick up these and asked Dory, if all of you want one. It's on New Hampshire building codes and fire codes. Might want to stick that in
Hmm, that would be good.
as a quick reference.
Finding out what this is.
All right.
I mean, if it's just a little widening, but if they're actually
Adding
increasing
new.
the traffic flow,
Yeah, right.
I don't think they are.
I don't read it that way.
I think it's just for the paving that they're doing.
They shouldn't have to file anything with
Necessary
DOT just because of paving.
Yeah.
They'd have to actually change the entrance. We're not even that, Amy. I find it interesting that 822 Laconia Road does not have a alteration of terrain permit for all of this.
Yeah.
And everything else that's going on.
All right, does anybody have any other business?
I think that we need to look through this wetlands ordinance that we just looked through. And I think that a permit should be created.
Actually, could I say something about along those lines?
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up, but I was waiting to see if anybody else had anything else.
All right. Yeah, so tonight the planning board finished the process of granting a conditional use permit. The meeting previously, we set this process, we sort of set the steps for this to happen. But we had a lot of option, we had a lot of the board had a lot of leeway in doing so. And we did abbreviate the process somewhat, but to abbreviate it even further, the board could make it a completely administrative process from now on, where there is no such meeting as happened, like the one that happened tonight. And the board, if you look at the zoning, it doesn't require a meeting. In fact, the public hearing is definitely waived, but even a meeting doesn't seem to be required. I can double check. Consultation with the Conservation Commission is required. Notice to abutters is required. So again, it seems that there could be an even more streamlined process. And we have another intent to cut before us that just came in today. And the logger, similar to this case, maybe not quite as desperate to get going, but he was expecting to get going within, he was saying as soon as possible. And he was saying, I can hold on a couple weeks, but I think, it's surfacing that this is kind of an unexpected hoop that loggers have to jump through. And we might want to talk a little bit about, as Catherine said, about the possibility of enabling either maybe like the code enforcement officer or the land use coordinator to issue these permits without a planning board meeting.
And I don't have a problem with that, because I know, Al and Dari and I talked about it today. I know without a doubt that they will make sure we're not violating any kinds of state or local laws. So I don't have a problem letting them do that.
I see in here where it actually does require us to have a meeting. That's what I'm reading. If
Oh,
you look
okay.
at page 59, hearing and decision. Following a public hearing on the proposed use, the planning board shall issue a conditional use permit. If you look above where it says procedure for minor conditional use permits,
Yeah.
it does give the planning board some leeway to kind of craft it on a case-by-case basis.
Well, by rule. So the planning board may authorize by rule or on a case-by-case basis an administrative procedure, and it probably should say minor, but it says for conditional use permits. It's under the heading of minor, so it's covered. Such minor conditional use permits may be issued for. So to me, the way I'm reading that is that, yes, if it's not minor, then indeed a meeting has to take place. In fact, a public hearing has to take place. But if it is minor, and so there's one piece to the puzzle, the board deciding what qualifies as minor, if we're going to do it on an ongoing basis. On a case-by-case basis, the planning board could decide case-by-case whether it's minor, but there's a lot of time delay associated with that. So, yeah, I guess, I don't know, Catherine, I feel like...
If you look at C, it says that because I love this part of it, now it says it can be issued without public hearing if it's a minor.
Right.
Yeah.
But it says, all of the procedural requirements, including notice to abutters, consultation with Conservation Commission, and the findings of section 14.6.5 shall remain in effect.
Yeah.
Appeals of the decision on such conditional use permit applications shall be made to the planning board within 30 days. My problem is if there's appeal to the planning board because a permit wasn't issued, and it's issued by somebody other than the planning board.
Well,
How's the
I
planning
mean, it's
board
almost like the
gonna-
planning board's acting like the zoning board normally does in that case. So the way I read this is that if say it's Al who does this, the code enforcement officer who does this, say the code enforcement officer denies a permit, then within 30 days, the planning board would be approached, and maybe at that point it would turn into a meeting, or carrying that issue on would take place at a meeting.
Why so long? Why 30 days? Especially like this time of year when they want to get cutting.
They're not gonna get cutting if it's gotta go before the Conservation Commission, because they're meeting
Well-
on the 19th, which is the third Monday. They won't meet again until the third Monday of June.
What is the
So
what
unless
is
the planning board,
sorry.
because it comes to the planning board first, and we're
Yeah.
supposed to consult with them.
Well, what if the abutters and Conservation Commission were all notified in the same way, and they all got a letter that said it could even have like a check list, the check boxes on it, answer these 3 questions, do you have an issue, some way that they could actually respond, but they have to do it quickly. Maybe it doesn't have a checklist. Anyway, it's saying, please submit any comments, objections, whatever, to the land use coordinator within, and set it for like a week. And Conservation Commission, the question is, does Conservation Commission consultation have to take place at an assemblage of the Conservation Commission, or can it be done by asking each Conservation Commission member individually?
Now you're violating
Minor-
91A.
Yeah, you can't
What?
do that.
What?
They have to have a meeting.
No,
No
not,
board or committee
wait a
can
minute.
make a decision as an individual because they have to be at a public meeting to discuss it, to make the decision. It has to be done at a public meeting.
But if they were consulted individually, but you're saying they're collectively making a decision.
It's not one individual that makes the
Right.
decision,
Right.
it's the
Yeah.
commission.
Yeah.
This planning board is not one of us, it's the
All of them.
board. That's
And I don't think you
91A.
get around that.
I think the value with the code enforcement officer is to have them go out and look at the site to make sure that what they're submitting for wetlands crossings are actually what exists.
Yeah.
Are they brooks, are they streams, are they bogs, are they marshes? I think that can be done
And that's what we
Ahead of
talked
time,
about before,
by
you're
the code
doing.
enforcement officer, but I think the planning board needs to meet to discuss it. There's a lot of things in here that we didn't apply to this case.
Like what?
Yeah, I don't think that's true. But
14.6 on page 60.
Yeah.
I mean, I went out there and looked at it, but
Yes, but we
No, but I
put,
mean,
to-
I actually,
we put
sorry.
together we put together procedures that you've got to make the corrections of Board of Selectmen. All right, we put that together, which will stop that from happening in the future,
And it did today, in
okay?
fact.
And it
worked,
did,
yeah.
yes.
no,
Okay.
these are,
But no, honestly, Catherine, I looked at 14.6. I think those were covered. I went through it, and letter E, I think, was sort of the biggie there, because the rest.
the permits, but these are beyond the state's permits. So how do we know that his proposed activity minimizes the environmental impact to abutting or downstream under hydrology connected water and wetland resources? That stream goes directly to the Winnipesaukee River. Does anybody here know how he's gonna cross those brooks? Is he gonna use pole bridges? Is he gonna use stones? Is
He
he
was
just
gonna
gonna
use
cross?
pole bridges according to what he told us, and that's what you told us initially also,
That's what he said,
okay?
but that's, he didn't say anything about it tonight.
Yeah, the way I read my interpretation of the way the board handled deciding whether he tonight handled whether he crossed off 14.6 was probably by saying, by checking to see if he had his DES permit. And knowing that he had his DES permit probably tells a board member that a lot of these things he was, they've all been contested or addressed, or however you want to put it.
The reason I'm bringing up, in particular this case, he has had violations from DES before.
Correct.
Once they build whatever structure they're gonna use, and there's several different structures they can use to cross the stream, it has to be removed.
Correct.
So these are the type of conditions
Well,
that
these
could
are
have
the
been.
things
that's how we
that we need to follow up on this case.
But no, these are the types of things that we could have added as conditions to the permit.
Right.
I think in this particular case, the forest ranger, the DES, there's so many people alerted by just his mere presence, that we're probably not gonna have a problem. But this next logger that comes in, we may not know anything about him, but when he comes to Tilton to log, we need to let him know that the planning board knows about best management practices.
And I
We
think
know
that
what
once
he has to do.
initially, this was the code enforcement officer, and you went out and told him to go on and start cutting, and then
No, we
we were.
didn't.
I thought so, and then we were alerted to it.
Oh, heck no.
No, well, that's,
Oh, no.
he got the sort of, impression of getting a thumbs up when he got his notice of intent
Right.
to cut
When-
signed.
When the code
But
enforcement
that
officer
was
and I went
nobody.
out there, we're the ones that told him, you can't cut until you get a conditional use permit from the planning board. Doesn't matter what
Well,
you
I'm
get
not
from
gonna
the
argue
state.
that point now, but,
There's
I-
no
I think
argument,
we-
that's
I think we
exactly what
wa-
I told him.
I think we've learned, a big lesson on this. And, if we'll put those procedures in place, and you'll get something out to him with what he said,
procedures?
what procedures he said on the tape,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
And then from now on, we'll look at them on a case-by-case basis. You
Um,
went out on one today.
yeah, I didn't go, yeah, I got something
Well, I
in
mean,
today.
that's what I meant.
Right, yeah. I got something in today, and yeah, I mean, I think we're again right back in the position of if we want to give the Conservation Commission an opportunity to meet as a group, and
But there's no application that's been filed by him, has there?
there's a
Selectmen.
notice of intent to cut.
Hasn't been signed by the selectmen.
Yeah, I mean,
And
how are we going to deal with this? I
he
guess.
has- He should have been given, unless he got it before your letter, the letter you wrote to attach to it. Or if he got his intent to cut online, when he dropped it off, somebody should have said to him, conditional use permit from the planning board.
Well, it sort of happened that way. I mean, this just came into the office today. As soon as I got it, well, not as soon, today, I called him and said, I just want to make sure you know that there's a conditional use permit at the town level,
If there's wetlands,
if there are wetlands, and it looks like there definitely are.
then he has to fill out an application
A conditional
for the
use.
permit.
Yeah. But I think to be responsive to the nature of the logging business, from what I'm seeing, not that I'm an expert in the logging business by any means, but what it appears that loggers need to move quickly in order to make a living. And the delay that this conditional use permit is creating is extremely unfriendly to that industry. And right now it looks like, we seem, letter C is intended to help minimize that, but the required consultation with the Conservation Commission is a huge roadblock, and it makes it almost impossible to do this quickly. So, I don't know.
Well, if he gets his application in the next 2 days, the Conservation Commission will meet Monday, and they may look at it.
All right, well, we got lucky in that case, that's an unfortunate case, but,
Whether the Conservation Commission would call a special meeting to look at one of these. It's just like this one, they had met, like, I think it was 2 days before, no. We had gone out there, I think on a Thursday. The Conservation Commission met on Monday.
And you and I went to that meeting.
You and I went to the
And
meeting.
Chuck sent a letter saying they were satisfied they didn't need to see
Because
anymore.
you and I went,
Because
but if
we
we
went.
hadn't went, he would still be waiting until their meeting on the 19th.
oh, I know, and that, yeah.
There's gotta be something that we can do to speed it up. I
The-
don't know what, but
Well, I just wonder, I mean, if, the Conservation Commission can't make a decision outside of a meeting,
That's right.
but can they be consulted? I mean,
You can FYI them.
can you, FYIing, I guess, isn't consulting, is it? It doesn't
Nope.
constitute consulting.
You're
because
not gonna get an answer. You're not gonna, you
Yeah.
can give them the information, they can do what they want with it, but they can't sit there and make a decision.
Can they have a joint meeting with us?
Yep.
Yeah, they
So-
can,
Yeah.
if they so choose.
Yeah.
Well, that's the other thing, yeah,
Yeah,
right.
we need a quorum of them.
Right.
And they could also have a meeting at a, what do you call it, special meeting.
Yeah, they could call a meeting outside their regularly scheduled
Yeah.
one.
And how many members are there?
Is there 11?
11?
Holy
Other
moly.
than-
Wow.
7? There's at least 7. There's a bunch of them.
and they meet how often?
Oh, Maybe the
Last
seven.
year-
They have a
last
lot of
year-
alternates.
Oh, okay.
Last year,
yeah.
there were 12 intents to cut.
Yeah,
My memory
That's a lot.
serves me correctly. How many of those involve wetlands?
yeah, right, I don't know.
Who knows?
Well, I guess,
Probably, I mean, it's happening in not the most developable of lands.
yeah.
So, I don't know, yeah, I don't know the answer.
A tract of land that's large enough to be attractive to a logger is typically gonna have some kind of
Right,
wetlands.
that's what I was
There aren't
thinking,
many
yeah.
tracts that are over
Yeah, but
20
are they-
acres without.
But are they cutting near the wetlands? I guess that's my question.
They have to cross the wetlands typically.
I don't know.
So he's
The two that have come in, maybe it's just bad luck, but they both have these pictures of streams running right across the property map.
Where's the other one?
It's the same stream too, isn't it?
It's, I don't know. It's on Sanborn Road.
132?
What's that?
On 132? What are they cutting
Yeah,
on 132?
No, not on 132.
it is on 132.
Is it on 132?
That's
Yeah, it
it,
is, it is.
Yeah.
Joanne Oliver's property.
Yeah.
Joanna's? Gulf Brook runs right down through there.
Well, there's actually, there's a wetland that runs along the border of the property, and then there's, Gulf Brook. You got it.
Thank
Gulf
you.
Brook, yep.
Oh, take a look, do I?
Okay, just do it.
Right through the middle of it. So anyway,
You need to let
A little
him
bit of
know.
history, a little bit of, the lowest point in Samberton is the bottom of Gulf Brook. Just want you to know that. It's below sea level.
that's where Jimmy Hopper
Wow, how far below sea level?
Come on, how far?
All right, so let him know that he does have to have a conditional use permit, okay?
Okay.
He's gotta fill out the application, he needs to get it in as soon as possible if he
Yeah,
wants to meet that
right.
19th meeting.
All right, I'll call him tomorrow morning. Email him the application. Let him know he should have it to me by when?
Well, they
The
meet
end of the
Monday.
day tomorrow, yeah,
Better have the
right.
end of the day tomorrow.
Yeah. And he got lucky, essentially.
They-
And
You gotta
then,
have it in before you leave tomorrow.
here's the question, does the planning board want to make a motion tonight that might alleviate the need for the planning board to take this up again at its next meeting?
I don't,
I
because
don't.
I haven't seen anything.
I don't either since there are two brooks.
And I think that, I
Yeah.
wanna hear what the conservation person has
All
to
right,
say.
all right, but the intent will be, I guess I don't have anything to say, yeah.
And I also want to bring up the fact that because of this situation, there's some changes, there's some additions that Kathy Mitchell and the Conservation Commission are going to make to the master plan chapter that they submitted. And I told them that we have a little bit of time because you're working on the cover, but they're going to do that quickly,
Okay,
okay?
everybody should read this section, because there's definitely some things that we need to do to make this a better, or a more
Say it,
streamlined.
Just out of curiosity, how many times a year does the town issue a line?
Well, last year,
It varies.
Yeah.
so you can't say.
But these two sites aren't gonna be logged again probably in 50 years.
No, I know that, but I mean, this is the
There
first
aren't
time
many
I've
tracks
had one on the
left,
board. and-
so it's, what I'm telling you, we may
Because we
have
weren't
issued
following
12
the
last
procedure.
year, we're probably gonna issue less this year.
Yeah, they're gonna run out of trees.
Catherine, give me this section, will you please?
Oh, I'm sorry.
The section we discussed last time we met.
It's probably helpful to read the entirety of Article 14,
Yeah, what does it start on, 53?
55,
Now, one of the
well, in my
things that
version.
One of the things
55.
that Dari and I have talked about, we've got real issues with some of our zoning. And Dari is going to,
Thank you.
Dari, correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
in his spare time.
And he has lots of that, we know that.
Dari, well, at times when there's not so much activity going on, he's going to go through the zoning and highlight areas that appear to be problem areas, right?
I will, although I'll say the thing that seems to really bring issues to light is us running up against them. And, more than, and they seem to be coming fast and furiously. In other words, I've got a long list of things that have actually, caused some, maybe not a
Gray
big issue,
list.
but yeah.
Yeah,
So
big list.
even before I get that spare time that hopefully will come at some point, but never does, I think we're still building that list.
Don't you have
By-
a vacation that you can do it on?
If I take a vacation, I'll be painting my house,
Oh.
unfortunately.
You know what,
That's
you
not
can run one
vacation.
hand, and the other hand,
Yeah.
I would
just
just,
saying
I
that.
would
the other hand, you can be scrolling through your iPhone looking reading.
I would like to reiterate how grateful we are that you're
Oh,
here and
yes.
doing the kind of job you're doing. It's
Yes.
Thank you.
it's
Absolutely.
real.
Here.
We're
Thank you.
grateful.
Yeah,
Thanks a lot.
It makes our job easier.
it does.
It so much does.
Oh, thank you.
Jane,
All
don't
right.
forget to leave that paper up for me so Dari can copy it, please. The plan read.
But, yeah, this next one, we should be able to do.
Yeah.
All right,
But
I'll entertain a motion to go home.
Motion to
Motion to
adjourn,
adjourn?
second.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
What?
What?
And Elaine wants a copy of this.
all right.
Please.
And it doesn't
They
say
should
the
use
cost
that
on
too
there.
often, they might cut our pay.
I don't know, is there a plaza in there?
I believe there's a cost. Excuse me. Sorry.
Come on down. Make sure everything's off. What?
Well, there's.
We're still
she can
recording.
call, yeah.
Yeah, just put it
Yeah.
on, so many.
Again, Conservation's meeting Monday. I would like to invite all of you to go with Catherine and me.
Yes, definitely.
Conservation on Monday?
No, I thought zoning was
The
Monday.
19th,
Oh, no, zoning's the 20th, Tuesday.
Monday what time?
We should meet
But
on
only if there's
Monday.
zoning.
I need you, Catherine.
Oh, there is, there's two.
going
One
on
is
there?
entertaining as crap. This house down across from the high school, you know where that is? They're on a 1 acre, they have a duplex and a garage already, and they wanna put a horse.
Does anyone else want one?
You want to put a horse?
They're asking for an special exception to have a horse.
Oh, is that one of your
Jane?
butters?
What?
No,
The
I just
meetings
found it entertaining, I was like, I wanna see how they handle
On
this.
Monday?
No.
I'm just
Here.
gonna
It's
bring
Conservation Commission.
Well, it's
Okay.
interesting
It's
that
here at 7 o'clock.
It's 7 p.m., thank you.
Oh, really?
The address of the place.
I think they bought it in February.
Oh, really?
So it's like, really, when you bought the house, you didn't think maybe I want something four-legged living here that's not a dog?
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like his daughter. Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
I don't know where you are.
Really, but it's actually my husband's favorite color, my mom's favorite color. I don't know why, but.
Well, you just have to do it phone
Yes, I did the phone because my sister did hers, so there was a little competition
Yeah,
about
but
what
this
purple
was
was
live.
better, so that's how
So I
that.
stopped by tomorrow, you think I could
I
talk
have
to
a
her?
room
You didn't know what pink,
She'll give you an application.
is the other color, I don't really, I'd rather have
And
purple.
they're girlish, so yeah,
Yeah,
pink is
They're
in
hot.
there.
you know what I mean, so like,
On the 19th?
or black.
Touch with,
Look at that.
So,
Yeah, I have a purplish,
yeah.
Okay.
She
purple
gave me
and
crap,
I'll
so
come
I
in
said,
tomorrow
mine's
and,
better.
yeah, she'll get the box.
Good night. Thank you too.
Did we organize it?
Yeah, putting the place back together.
All right, you're
She'll give you
hired.
his email, or actually, I can email it.
Right.
You know, it's on the website.
Note to self,
The
do not
application?
put the chair on the floor.
No, but Hardy's email,
Oh,
just to let him know
Oh.
that you wanna come in and speak, because he sets the agenda.
okay. All right, just, you know,
Turn that up, Bill.
Oh,
How'd
How'd that work for you?
Thank you, Doris.
Thanks.